Have you played any MMOs before, Mr. Cakez? Oh yeah, I have played Rift as an MMO. I played World of Warcraft Classic too, but on the Nostalgia server, not the real classic World of Warcraft. I played Ion for a long time. That was one of the greatest MMOs I played. I really enjoyed that one. I'm a big PvP guy. And so I love the massive PvPs and the fortress taking, you know, and then you have your guild. And you try to build a union with other guilds, and then you try to take down these massive bosses in those fortress wars. That was awesome. And then not every time it was the same fortress that was under siege. And only sometimes you could actually take the center fortress, and then in those fortress wars, in those fortress buildings themselves, you could go into instances and farm a special currency that allowed you to buy PvP gear of very high quality. And that PvP gear gave you advantages in PvP, but not as much in PvE. And that was awesome, man. I remember that. Like for me, Ion and then Rift, those two games were the biggest ones. And ever since then, I have not looked at any other MMO the same. Because for me, it was just more of the same. Every other MMO that came out, it just looked the same. You go around and kill units and that's it. And so, let's say Ashes of Creation. What is special about Ashes of Creation? I've seen streams and it looks exactly like Rift was when I played Rift. That was like 15 years ago or something. So... Or was it 15 years? Actually not that long ago. I played Rift on stream even 10 years ago. Probably though. 6 years or something. So like, why would I spend effort into a new MMO if it's exactly the same? What makes these MMOs different? In my opinion, the only difference is how it looks and the abilities. But you still have raid bosses, you still have instances, you still have parties that you form, you have world bosses, you have daily quests, you have normal quests, you have leveling. That's all present in these old games. So why would I spend time? Oh yeah, Silk Road, I forgot. Yeah, I played Silk Road a long time ago as well. That was a great game, man. So like, tell me, what is the big difference? So like, okay, Ashes of Creation is coming out, right? Or something. What is making that game special over an old MMO? I think you might like something like Pax Day. It's a new type of MMO. I plan on playing it when it's more developed. Yeah, but what do these things offer? The node system? What is the node system? Explain that. Like, explain that in like layman's terms. What is this node system and why is it good? Or why is it something new that should get me excited to play the game? For me, what I see is this. You can think about MMOs like Vampire Survivors. The first one you played, usually, not always, is the best one. And then maybe there have been some clones that play the same and do the things a little bit different, but better. Or different, maybe not even better. But you're always going back to Vampire Survivors and saying, oh yeah, that's the game. And so I just see MMOs as Vampire Survivors clones. We have an MMO clone. It's another MMO clone. Another MMO clone. Another MMO clone. That's nothing new. Ultimately, MMOs are more about community than anything else. Mechanics like nodes that allow groups to alter the worlds and things like that enhance the community experience. So what I have not seen in MMOs done before, and maybe it has been done, but what I have not seen, but I have seen it advertised, obviously for money on Kickstarter. Of course, but an MMORPG game where you can actually build your own castle as a guild, actually build that castle and defend that castle in real time at all points, or a piece of land. And then when you hold that castle with your guild and you need to make sure that you can defend the castle at night and at day, you know, people will invade your castle at night when they can. Like a real-time simulation of guilds fighting each other. That's what the node system is. The villages that are built, protected, and evolved by the players. I've seen what that looks like, but I'm talking about a bigger scale here. I'm not talking about some outpost. I'm talking about a fucking castle, bro. I'm talking about a giant-ass city that you defend at all times. Maybe they have that, but what I've seen so far look like a small little outpost that's a node that you can sprinkle in the game. I'm talking about big differences, not these little nodes that maybe, okay, now I can build this outpost. What does that outpost give me? Think about Stormwind. Think about Undercity. Defending Undercity at all times, and you are able to get pathways into the city by going over multiple entry points. Maybe even being able to destroy the walls itself. Sieging the walls. And then as you are in Undercity, you can hear the catapults that are firing on your city. You can hear the shake every time a big rock impacts. Think about the scene when Minas Tirith in... That would be Joppy, right? Think about Minas Tirith being under siege from the orcs. And they are tossing the rocks, the burning rocks, into the city. And you can actually break down the buildings. That was the greatest thing about the Abyss Fortress in Ion. Yeah, so, and these fortresses could not be destroyed, right? They could not be destroyed. But I'm talking about destruction here. Think about tear down, but not to the same degree. Yeah. So that would be something that would get me excited to play an MMORPG game, but not some predefined stuff like you can see in Guild Wars 2, where you have these outposts and then they can be taken over by the enemies. What are the, like, the NPC monsters that you fight, and they would sometimes be in like some special area, and then you go into the area and you clear out the entire area and then it spawns an outpost. I think that's boring, because ultimately the outpost, what purpose does it serve? So if I'm thinking about Ashes of Creation doing the same thing and you're taking it away from the enemy, what does that outpost bring you in terms of money or power in the world? Just having an outpost is fine, but what does that give you? Do you get any special items? Even special items, I wouldn't even like, maybe special items, but something of an advantage. Maybe a trade route or something like that. I don't know. Watch the clip, Webby? Notes in 60 seconds? Okay, fine. Let's take a look at notes.
Ever wonder what makes Ashes of Creation so incredibly unique? Spoiler alert, that's a lot of things. But it's also nodes. Let's talk about it. Nodes are special areas in the world that players can develop that are wrapped in a zone of influence. From a tiny little expedition to a massive, sprawling metropolis. What you do in the game grants experience toward that node. And every node is unique. There's 4 different types. You've got divine, economic, military, and scientific. Each different in their own way, offering unique services, quests, and more. But beware, nodes can also be decayed or destroyed. If you abandon that node, guess what? It's gonna slowly decay. Also, it can be destroyed. Players can declare war and try to take over the node, so think massive, epic battles and Game of Thrones style politics. All this in a game. There's so much more to this system, and we're gonna keep diving more into this in the future.
So they're actually going into this direction. Okay, I can see that. Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about. That would, that's exactly the next step that I would expect from an MMORPG. And so, like what I see here, this looks like a city. I wonder if you can break down these buildings. If I can shoot a rock into this building and it breaks down, and then someone has to repair that hole. I don't know about this, you know. It seems probably not to be the case, but you never know. According to the devs, yes. It showed a building
breaking,
breaking,
Nodes can also be decayed or destroyed. If you abandon that node, guess what? It's gonna slowly decay. Also, it can be destroyed. Players can declare war and try to take over the node, so think massive, epic battles and Game of Thrones style politics. All this in a game. There's so much more to this system, and we're gonna keep diving more into this in the future. I'm Jibs from Loreforged, and if you enjoy this, let us know in the comments below.
Very interesting, yeah, so good explanation of what this is. Yeah, so that's what would get me excited to play the game. However, I'm gonna wait. I'm always one of those people that waits and sits back waits for someone else to get a review of the game and talk about the game. And usually when the majority of players echo the same thing, that would give me like an idea of how the game is. It's just like Steam reviews, right? Never expect a full sandbox because the tech is not there yet. Yeah, probably not. Like, what would be cool in these types of scenarios, the way I can see it, maybe you can sneak into the city by going into stealth mode, and then you can try to stealth past the guards, and they have like vision detection. That is, let's say, a typical Skyrim vision detection, but not as bad, right? They have like a tricone visual, like, how do you say that? Visual cone, where they can see in front, but they can't see behind themselves, but they can hear noise. So if you have a very bad sneaking level, or you wear heavy armor, you're more likely to be you can, like, the guard can hear you. I don't know if that exists in the game, but that opens up the possibility for these types of scenarios. You go into the village and then you try to steal, I don't know, bank in there, right? You try to steal money or items, and these things respawn. For example, they have like you call that Stadtkasse in English. I don't know what that's called. And you can try to get into like the house where the Stadtkasse is. You need to pick some locks. Maybe, you know, make sure that the guards don't see you, or you can uplenken in English the guards, distract the guards, and then get into that. It's super ambitious though. Whenever the devs are like, you can do everything, I'm skeptical. That's the thing. Yes. And Ashes of Creation has been in development for a long time, isn't it? When was the first news of Ashes of Creation? 2017, probably earlier, right? Ashes of Creation. Okay, so we get the first one here. 2016. December, around that time. Yeah, let's not talk about Star Citizen. I know about that, yeah. It's Storefront Citizen.